So welcome everyone, it's Robert from Health Synergy, and with the ongoing COVID-19 virus attack, everyone's talking about it. It's in the news all the time, and one of the things they're talking about is social distancing. They're talking about washing our hands, really kind of key. But one of the other things I've been reading is the stats, and the stats say probably 60 to 85% of us are going to get this virus. Now, to me, those numbers sound like, and I would wager that, well, we have to kind of assume we're going to get it. And so if we're going to assume we're going to get it, what are we going to do to build ourselves up? Because right now, it seems that everyone has taken this as a license to stay at home, which is good, but to eat chocolate cake every day and, drink tons of extra alcohol and sit on the couch. And that might not be the best for building your system up and building up your immune system. So what I thought I would do is share with you some information on how we can build ourselves up, because if we're going to get this, let's try and reduce the duration of this virus when it attacks us and reduce the severity, because if we get really sick with it and we have to go to the hospital, and if we have that pulmonary issue, the lung issue, we have to get put on a respirator, bad news. So let's try and minimize this as much as possible. So to help you with that, I have called one of my friends, Dr. Dawn Cormier, and she is an expert in, let's call it chronic illness and prevention. And so I'm going to let Dr. Cormier speak a little bit about herself, and we're just going to have a conversation, and I want to tap into her expertise on what we can do to build ourselves up. And I made a list of some questions, the questions that you have been asking me, so hopefully we get an understanding of this. So with no further ado, Dr. Dawn Cormier, welcome, and thank you for taking some time away from the front lines, from helping others, to share with your good advice with us. So welcome, and could you please share with our group today a little bit about yourself and what you do in clinical practice?
Absolutely, Robert. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. It took a pandemic global situation for us to do this. This is the opportunity we have. It's a wonderful silver lining in our cloud. Okay, so I'm a naturopathic doctor. I've been practicing in Ontario, Stratford, Ontario for almost 30 years. And I have a sort of mixed practice. I have a functional naturopathic practice and do the naturopathic thing, assessing people's wellness, trying not to really focus too much on disease, but how we can get them well. And I do a lot of integrative work there. And the other half of my practice is doing energy medicine. I'm a Reiki master and a Qigong practitioner. And we do a lot of energy healing to help the body heal and informed healing from that way in. So I also teach Qigong classes.
A wide, diverse repertoire of skills.
Yes, yeah. And of course, we've known each other for a very long time, and glad to be back in each other's orbit.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you for that introduction. And again, for the listeners, Dr. Cormier has a very wide, diverse understanding of preventative health. And so that's why I thought she'd be such an excellent expert to answer some of our questions. So I know you're busy, so I'd like to just get to some of our questions, so to help our listeners. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So
let's help as best as we can.
All right. So one of the most pressing question is, and right now as a clinician, what is the biggest concern of your patients currently?
Currently, people just don't want to get COVID. It's just really clear. It's really clear. Now, our office is closed now. We're mandated to be closed, but we're open for emergency care and support that way. But before we were shut down, everyone flooded in for nutritional supports that would help boost their immune system, help them so that they wouldn't succumb. Yeah.
Okay. And since we're assuming that a high percentage of people are going to get COVID-19, what are the top ways that you would like to share on how someone could build up their immune system? And that could be adding things, that could be taking away things. So what is your...
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a long list, but we can start with just some good hygiene tips, so to speak. So I think the best thing that we can do globally here is to just appreciate the opportunity out of our lives and start to look at what's really important to human health and well-being. I mean, a lot of us have been running on this hamster wheel, right? And we've been stuck in stress and fight and flight, sometimes people for decades, right? And let's get going, that shuts down growth, it inhibits your immune system, and blood flow goes from the front of the brain to the midbrain, the hindbrain for fight or flight and survival. Then we get less intelligent, we make bad choices, and maybe when we're going to the grocery store, we fill our cart with 10 bags of potato chips instead of lots of vegetables, right? Yeah. So let's start just nutritionally. So I don't really like to be on food and be a serious food cop, but because you want to love what you eat and not feel shame and guilt around comfort. But still, eating well can be comforting. Like in general basics is like, eat well, eat healthy, keep away from the processed foods. You want to keep away from anything that suppresses immune function or increases inflammation. Food, lots of sugary foods, heavy duty carbohydrates, sugar. You want to really focus on based diet. Now, what I mean by that is you don't have to be vegetarian or a vegan, but let's bump up our fresh vegetable intake to 80% if you can. Healthy. Yep. And then you can keep the processed food and the meats down a little bit, because you know what? It's those phytonutrients and antioxidants that are going to heal your body, and they're going to decrease inflammation, and that's going to really pump up your immune system. So that's just kind of general. And that means what you're drinking too, right? Fresh, clean, filtered water, and don't go by, right? That's really going to just plummet your immune system. I mean, what are the Chinese rules, right? As soon as COVID aside, when anybody gets sick, the first thing we do is take them off of dairy, take them off of sugar, right? And so those are general things you can apply in this situation for sure. So you want to ramp up that way. But maybe what foods deplete you might be different from somebody else. So you might do really good with raw foods, but someone who can't digest it may have to go for nutritious soups and stews and bone broths and heated and warmed foods. So you have to, if you can, tap into what makes your system best, right? We're all different.
Personalize it, if you will, and find what fits you.
You can, exactly.
Okay.
You got it. Yeah. Good. And then movement. If we don't have to go to work, and if you're lucky enough that you have more rest time, this incredible opportunity, get out every day. You got things that reduce scientifically. Going for a walk in nature decreases your blood. Nature balances you.
So going for a walk in nature reduces your cortisol. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions that I also had that you're kind of moving us towards is this whole idea of we have our circulatory system, our heart, our blood vessels, that's moving the blood, our nutrients and waste products, but we also have a parallel system some people might not be familiar with called your lymphatic system. Could you share some thoughts on the lymphatic system and why it's important in immune function and how it can help us potentially with fighting viruses and the connection to exercise?
Yeah, so your lymph system, for people that might not be aware, think of it like this invisible highway of fluid arteries that actually pump fluid alongside of your blood vessels, but they're removing waste products. And we have vessel might have, so we rely on our muscles to move the lymphatics, right? So our waste products need to be moved out by movement. Did I cut out? Yeah. Oh, and I cut out. Yeah. Okay, so there's a parallel, kind of invisible, and it's used to take the garbage out of the system, essentially. The lymphatic system, though, needs along. So if you're stagnant and sitting too long, you can't pump your lymphatics to get the waste products out of the system, which then go back into the blood, filter through the kidneys, and then away we go. Did you get me there? Is that clear?
Yes, and so in a sense, it would be kind of like your blood vessel, your circulatory system is like a river. There's always new coming in and the waste is being removed, whereas your lymphatic system could be more like a pond, and we don't want that pond to really get stagnant. But when we get a big rain, that can bring in new water and maybe flush out some old. And in this case, the rain is our muscle pump, our movement, our exercise, expanding the chest cavity. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right. And you bring up a good point about that. So your lymphatics can get very thick. You want them to be fluid. So you need to drink clean filtered water, right? You don't need sugared beverages at all. Good clean water. And then in regards to movement, this is really important. You know, movement to me and you might be very different, Robert. Like I know you like to do pretty active exercise, right? So yeah, if somebody's chi's already down, their life force is down, they may like Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga or something in nature, which is enough to get their lymphatics going, but it to be their system. Whereas someone who has a lot of good vital chi can go out and run 10K on the trails, you know? So really pick what is really important for you and your body type and where you're at. Yeah.
We have to find that balance. Obviously, some movement's good, and the more I read about walking seems to be the default, and it's not walking slowly with the dog, where the dog pees and smells everything every 10 meters. It's about a brisk walk, getting the heart going, and right now it's getting more and more sunlight during the day so we can feel a little bit better, versus going out and running a marathon or whatnot. That's really high intensity. That's kind of not what we're talking about. This is for most of us, as a matter of fact, just getting out for a good walk, maybe doing some basic stuff at home. You think that would be enough for most?
And there's so many free little like HIIT workouts and yoga workouts on the internet for free. I mean, everyone has access to it, right? But everyone has access to go outside. We're not locked in our houses at all.
All right. And so we kind of talked about the lymphatic system. We talked a little bit about this exercise. We talked a little bit about some of the good foods, staying away from, say, the sugars, the processed foods, eating more vegetables, and the bright colors, the berries, I guess are obviously very important here.
My suggestion is think of the rainbow and put the rainbow of colors on your plate. Have I eaten orange today? Have I eaten red? Blue, purple, the whole deal. Green, really, really good for detox. Yeah.
Okay. What about, we live in Canada, and here in Canada,
yes, we do.
We haven't really had sun on our skin since probably October or November. And sun's really important, as most people are aware, for making and activating vitamin D, which is very important for reducing inflammation, for bone health, and for optimizing your immune function. So would you recommend vitamin D? If so, how much? And I know as a clinician, I don't want to put you on the spot because you can't give free advice, but what are the general recommendations that you could give to the public in terms of public health on vitamin D?
Okay, well, what we do know is that at least 85% of the people are D in Canada, guaranteed. When we do lab work, that's always the case. How much, or more, truly. Yeah, and some of that can be because we have genetic SNP, convert it. But vitamin D is important, like you said, and it would be my recommendation that people take vitamin D and vitamin A together. They work very synergistically to help protect your epithelium, your throat, your lungs, where COVID's hitting, right? And so what we know about COVID is what's unique about it. It's just really the flu, but it's an intense flu that gives this tsunami of cytokine storm in the body, which means you have this waterfall of inflammatory chemicals happening that just takes down the respiratory system and the lungs. really prone to serious secondary bacterial infections. So I would suggest vitamin D and A. I honestly can't give a recommended dose. I'm going to say lots, but you should check with your healthcare provider, or you can go online. I'm just not allowed to prescribe vitamin D in this sort of forum, unfortunately. But I would add zinc to that as well, which really helps you with white blood cell function. You need your T cells to be optimum. So lots of zinc to get your vitamin C up pretty high. Go for it. Take it to just below bowel tolerance is a good thing to do. And that's just great top antiviral herbs if you'd like as well.
Okay. And I know your time's always limited, so what are some of the top herbs that could help support someone during this time? Many people have talked about echinacea or even things like elderberry. What is your take on these, and can you add to this list, or would you even add them to your list?
I absolutely would. Echinacea actually has a lot of research to show that it is immune stimulatory, but it also decreases inflammation. It decreases interleukin 6 and tumor necrosis factor as well. So it's really good. A good echinacea is a good thing to do. I would also consider oregano. Oregano oil is incredibly antiviral, as is olive leaf extract, which is less known, but very, very great antiviral. What's really showing up in the research for COVID is any herb that not only modulates or improves immune function, but is also anti-inflammatory. So another one to consider is licorice. Be very careful if you have high blood pressure, because licorice consumption over time can increase your blood pressure, so you have to keep an eye on that. Ideally under some medical advice, like your naturopath or someone who does herbs or whatnot. Astragalus is another good one. It's a very good traditional Chinese medicine herb that's going to be very helpful with COVID to help boost your immune function. And good old-fashioned garlic. Oh my gosh, you don't have to, the allicin in garlic is incredibly antiviral and antibacterial and antifungal, like any microorganism garlic can tackle. But you don't have to get fancy. Just get a raw clove of garlic every day, chew it between your teeth 2 or 3 times and swallow it like a big pill. It's incredibly helpful.
I guess the whole family should do this at once, not just one person, because if you're eating a whole clove of garlic like that, then I think everybody has to buy into that.
You know what? You'd be surprised if you just quickly break it up between your back teeth and swallow it with doesn't give you garlic breath. It'll only be there for 5 minutes and it's gone. Yeah. Anyways, that's true. I also wanted to mention, if someone has any cough, elderberry is really good. Now, I wouldn't take it preventatively. It's more antiviral for if you're challenged. Elderberry extract and syrups are good. And I would add thyme, like make a peppermint thyme tea. You can even this time of year go to your grocery store and buy thyme, fresh sprigs of thyme, right, in the herb section, and peppermint, and just brew up a beautiful infusion.
And when you say infusion, do you actually mean a tea?
Make a tea, yeah, exactly. And you can re-steep it. Like you can keep it in the pot and add more water and reboil it again. Yeah, very tasty too.
Nice. Well, I know our time's running out here, and you've shared so much with us, all these core fundamentals. And what I've heard from many of the people that follow us is many aren't even doing the fundamentals. And again, I guess part of this whole thing is reducing if we are going to get this virus, let's look after our mucous membranes. Let's reduce the duration and the severity of this illness so we don't end up going to the hospital. And hopefully we're like the people who get it, they show just a little bit of symptoms, self-isolate for 14 days, and then we'll be golden, as they say. Any final words you'd like to add?
Yeah, Robert, thanks for that invite on that. I think the most important is to try to remain calm, okay? Honestly, use social media very very cautiously and really don't watch the news every day, because as soon as you watch that fear, right, it's going to take your immune system down. This is an opportunity now to go in, and it's to take a look at what's important in your life right now. And then if everybody, like you know that we resonate with each other with emotions, and the world has enough. It's just a matter of perspective. Shift to gratitude, appreciation, compassion, love, or caring. It's going to really help regulate your immune system.
You did cut out there for a second, but I did get some of it. Appreciation. Well, you talked about remaining calm. You talked about appreciation. You talked about gratitude. Those things can help lift our spirits. They might not help fight the virus, but boy, they'll make us feel better. Stay away from the negative, the Facebook, the news. We're probably going to check that stuff, but maybe cut back on it. And maybe we can take care by doing self-care, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Self-care. So, and also self-care for others. Reach out to others that need help. Be a lifeline to somebody else right now. That makes you feel better.
Excellent. Be a lifeline for others. So I keep writing down all this material. So, excellent. Well,
Wonderful.
Thank you for taking the time and sharing with us today. You gave us a little bit of extra time, so we do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I think this is information that we all need to hear, and it helps counter all the negative that's out there. So, Dr. Dawn Cormier, thank you very much for sharing your time with us, and I look forward to talking and seeing you again in Purpose real soon.
We will. Thank you very much, Robert. You take care.
Okay, bye.